TikTok launches an election center ahead of the U.S. midterms to guide and fact-check voters. Western media is worried about misinformation, but the real problem is TikTok's ties to the Chinese Communist Party. And both Democrats and Republicans are turning a blind eye to it. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. This episode is sponsored by Incogni. You probably know that companies are collecting your personal data, but you may not realize just how many. Dozens, maybe hundreds, most of which you've never heard of, and you have no idea what they're doing with your data. Incogni helps you stop them. I'll explain more at the end. So, the U.S. midterm elections are right around the corner. Okay, they're not until November and it's August, but it's never too early to start campaigning like crazy. Fighting over midterm elections in the summer is the new Christmas decorations going on sale in July. Can we at least get through Halloween first? Democrats and Republicans need voters. They need you. Yes, you. Every vote counts. So does every click and every view. And what better way to get your message across than on the most popular social media platforms, like TikTok, where you can see everything from dancing stars to men getting vasectomies on camera. Which isn't really that strange, because after spending 5 minutes on TikTok, you'll never want to have kids either. And of course, it's impossible to escape politics on TikTok, since politicians are trying to communicate with young voters by using Gen Z humor online. Politicians using Gen Z humor. Yeet. That's cringe, fam. I can't think of anything more mid than boomer speaking like us kids. Now, I can't show you some of these TikTok videos since YouTube would demonetize us because of the copyrighted background music. But trust me when I say that after spending 5 minutes watching politicians on TikTok, you'll never want to vote again either. But since politics is trending, TikTok is launching an elections center for the midterm elections. Because TikTok is exactly who we need combating midterm misinformation. But there's no need to worry. No one goes to TikTok to get their news, right? Right? Actually, yeah, they do. According to one survey, TikTok is the fastest growing news source for young people and adults in the UK. And according to the analysis firm Forrester Research, 1/4 of US adults say they always use TikTok to get the news, with nearly half of US millennial and Gen Z adults indicating the same. Because if you can't trust the place where you go to watch nurses dancing while giving guys vasectomies as a news source, then who can you trust? Although I guess I'm talking to you from the place where you go to watch people play video games and unbox things, so... As for young teens, an Ofcom survey finds that TikTok is one of the top 3 most used sources of news. Nearly half of Gen Z is using TikTok and Instagram for search instead of Google. Wow, you know things have changed when Googling is now something only grandmas do. So there are a surprising number of people getting their news from TikTok. Which brings us back to TikTok's new plan to fight misinformation. What does it do? I'll explain after the break. Welcome back. Now, this isn't actually the first time TikTok has launched an election center. They did it back in 2020 too. But this time they're doing it 6 weeks earlier to capture more of the midterms conversation over the summer months. Because why spend your summer going to barbecues, beach trips, or pool parties when you can argue with strangers online about the economy and abortion? Summer! And I bet TikTok's real glad they can capture the conversation. According to TikTok, the new feature will allow users to access state-by-state election information, including details on how to register to vote, how to vote by mail, how to find your polling place, and more. Man, that sounds convenient. If only there were another place to get that kind of information. Look, I think participating in elections is a civic duty, but considering some TikTokers file their own teeth with nail files and put erection cream on their lips to make them more pouty, maybe we shouldn't be in a rush encouraging these folks to vote. Remember, their vote counts the same as yours. A lot of TikTok's voting information comes from partners like Ballotpedia and the National Association of Secretaries of State, the nation's oldest nonpartisan organization for public officials. TikTok also partners with voting assistant programs for specific groups of people. That includes the Federal Voting Assistance Program, the federal agency under the Department of Defense in charge of overseas voting. All that sounds pretty much fine. But then we get into the misinformation part. To counter misinformation, TikTok is also partnering with a dozen fact-checking partners worldwide, including PolitiFact, Science Feedback, and Lead Stories. Lead Stories also works with Facebook, and we did an entire episode about how they tried to call a peer-reviewed article in the British medical journal a hoax, which meant people were restricted from sharing it on Facebook. Spoiler alert, Lead Stories was wrong. So it's a little disturbing to hear that when these firms determine a video to be false, TikTok says the video will be taken down. And if the video is unverified, TikTok will reduce its visibility. It will also prompt viewers to reconsider before sharing potentially misleading information. Unless, of course, you're smearing erection cream on your lips, then it'll be seen by millions. To be fair, though, his lips do look poutier. Research by the Mozilla Foundation found that TikTok was a source of actual disinformation during the recent Kenyan presidential election and Germany's 2021 federal election. That included issues like popular accounts that were impersonating political figures. And Filipino President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. was able to use TikTok to win his election and rewrite his family's authoritarian past. Ugh. Does this mean we're going to start seeing authoritarians using TikTok? I'm surprised Putin hasn't joined already, considering he's always posting those drip lord thirst traps on his IG. Plus, he loves dancing on his enemies' graves. But the biggest issue with TikTok is China. Why? I'll tell you after the break. Welcome back. TikTok has just rolled out this year's Election Center for the 2022 U.S. midterm elections. And there are lots of concerns about misinformation. But the biggest concern is China. As we've been warning over and over again, TikTok is owned by Chinese company ByteDance. And like all Chinese companies, ByteDance is required by law to have a Communist Party branch and cooperate with state intelligence work. TikTok claims it isn't influenced by China and that it won't have access to off-platform data or activity like registering to vote. Press X to doubt. TikTok constantly gathers information, even if you uninstall it. There's already proof from leaked audio recordings that China-based employees have repeatedly accessed non-public data about U.S. TikTok users. And TikTok employees in the U.S. have less access than employees do in China. If you want to learn more about that, check the link from China Uncensored below. Okay, so Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok are all constantly spying on us. Wow. MySpace Tom really was our first and only true friend. Not that I know who that is. Us Gen Zers are way too young to remember MySpace. You can't even trust TikTok to be transparent about tackling misinformation. What TikTok calls misinformation and censors may actually end up being the truth. As we've reported before, the fact-checkers are far from perfect. Even if TikTok does get rid of real misinformation, the algorithms are hidden. So there's no way for anyone in the US to know how the algorithm works or even trace how misinformation travels. But you know who does know? The Chinese Communist Party. All this data helps them create profiles of Americans. Although no profile page had more details than MySpace did. Thank goodness the CCP doesn't know who your top 8 college besties were or how much you loved My Chemical Romance. But through data from TikTok, the Chinese Communist Party gets to know what people are thinking. It can inform how they use their propaganda to manipulate information. This, in turn, could give the party the tools to sow distrust in the West or even influence elections. The more information we give them, the more we're putting our national security at risk. So that's why this video spread as much as it did. This is how they beat us. You know who's especially at risk of being spied on and manipulated by the Chinese Communist Party? U.S. officials. And yet, it seems many politicians are blinded by their desire to gain quick, cheap exposure on TikTok. Some even go so far as to use thirst traps. And yeah, this should terrify you. Every time you come across any of those spicy thumbnails, there's a high chance that you'll be surprised by one of these. Don't fall for it. It should also be terrifying to know that a member of the House Intelligence Committee has a campaign account on TikTok too. His excuse? TikTok is not on any of my equipment, and it's not on any of my official staff's equipment as far as I know, but the TikTok account I have is on other people's campaign equipment, so that feels kind of air-gapped to me. It's not just Democrats either. For all their talk of being tough on China, conservative groups like Turning Point USA are seeking followers on TikTok. I guess they figure they can't beat the radical left in China unless they give their supporters data to China. While talking about politicians using TikTok, one anonymous Democrat aide said most of these members voted to ban TikTok on government devices. So either they're hypocrites, they're ill-informed, or they're chasing clout at the expense of good policy and what's in the best interest of the American government. Which is ridiculous. They're hypocrites, ill-informed, and chasing clout at the expense of good policy. The Chinese Communist Party is reaping the benefits. This episode has been sponsored by Incogni. Whenever you do anything online, there's a huge number of companies that collect your personal data. Your name, your email, your home address, your social security number, your employment history, all sorts of things. What are they doing with your data? They're buying it, selling it, and trading it like you're a commodity. If all they do is use it to sell you products, you're lucky. Some of them use it to adjust your credit score, or potentially more nefarious things. And if any of these companies get hacked, you could be in big trouble. For example, last year hackers got into LinkedIn. They stole the private data of 700 million users and put it up for sale on the dark web. That included users' names, phone numbers, and profile data. That's pretty scary. And if LinkedIn can be hacked, so can all the smaller companies that buy and sell your data. This is why I signed up for Incogni. It showed me 76 data brokers that potentially had my private information. Incogni forces these companies to delete your data. Now there are laws that allow you to do this, but if you want to do it yourself, you'd have to figure out the applicable laws, write letters in a specific legal way, and follow up to make sure your instructions are followed. Incogni handles this for you. 3 months after signing up, Incogni has already gotten my details removed from 19 of these data brokers, with 35 more in progress. And I didn't have to do anything after signing up. So check out Incogni using the link below, or go to incogni.com/uncovered. The first 100 people to use the code UNCOVERED will get 20% off. Get your personal data off the market with Incogni. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.